Mario games have been the best and most influential games of all time. Everyone's favorite mushroom-eating plumber may have single-handedly saved gaming as we know it. So it should come as no surprise that over the years, many developers have tried to steal the magical formula that is Mario and claim it for their own. I'm your host as always, K-Mac Time, and today I want to take a look at 10 shameless knockoffs of the Mario franchise. Starting on our list is a game called Crazy Kong, which was an officially licensed clone of the original Donkey Kong developed by Falcon under official license from Nintendo. Although the terms of contract limited them to manufacturing and distributing Crazy Kong in Japan only. Falcon, however, broke this agreement by exporting the game to the US market. In response, Nintendo terminated the contract and sued Falcon and arcade hardware distributors that sold Crazy Kong's board. The version you're currently seeing as gameplay in the background was an illegal Commodore 64 version as well. Both versions were eventually pulled from store shelves after Nintendo won its lawsuit. In more recent years, Mario has been copied countless times on Android and iOS on the app stores. The one you're looking at here is called Super World Adventures, and I believe it came out back in 2011 and has since been removed from the iPhone and Android app stores. But during its time on the app stores, it was downloaded an awful lot. I remember people playing this. It was a big deal when it first came out. Nintendo soon got wind of it and shut it down, but it was a thing kind of starting for the future because now Nintendo is doing more mobile games. They've done Pokemon Go, which is by Niantic, and they've also dabbled in with Super Mario Run. So they are trying to go more towards the mobile game marketing, but the games like this just seem to be kind of getting phased out. But there are a ton of them, so we're going to run through some more of them right now. Our next iPhone and Android ripoff is called Super Jump World, and they're not even getting really creative with these titles here. These are just clear, blatant, shameless knockoffs. This is clearly World 1-1 from Super Mario Bros., the original on the NES. They're not even changing up the level design. It is just straight up copy and paste with a leprechaun instead of Mario, and with these pretty like armadillos, something like that. I'm not sure. It's all the same, and there's 100,000 of these. It seems like there's just so many of them. This is actually one of the better ones. It actually doesn't play too bad for an iPhone game, for a platformer on an iPhone. It's not terrible, but it is a pretty shameless knockoff, and it's kind of sad to see these things. I believe this game has since been removed from the iOS store as well. Our next iPhone Mario knockoff is called Game Guy, and as you guys can see here, it actually represents the entire original Game Boy here on screen. Actually a pretty cool concept, not a terrible job of this. It plays just like Mario Land and Super Mario Land 2, it's very similar to that, but it does have the layout. If you hold your iPhone or Android up vertically, it uses that same kind of layout, and it's basically, like I said, just another shameless knockoff. Kind of a cool concept, putting the tinted yellow, green yellow tint on there. You can kind of change that around. As you guys saw earlier, you can change the colors behind it or go back to standard color. Pretty cool idea, but a pretty shameless knockoff as well. But I believe, again, Nintendo was on top of this one very quickly. This one was on the App Store for, I believe, less than a year, or maybe even less than that, before it was officially removed and taken down. Up until now, most of these have been 2D and kind of on the old school one, but this one's called 3D Cartoon Land Safari, and it takes a stab at 3D Mario games like Mario Galaxy or Super Mario 64, games like that. And this is a really odd take on the genre. It's hard to do 3D platforming on an iPhone. As you guys see here, the touchscreen and drag controls just didn't really work for it. It's kind of clunky to control. Wasn't a big fan of this one. It was a cool idea, and obviously it's a complete, rip-off of the Mario. There's even turtles. It even looks like Mario. They didn't even do much. Those are clearly Goombas and red turtles there. Clearly a shameless knockoff. A cool idea and concept of having a 3D platformer like this on your iPhone, but it just doesn't work out. It turned out to be a really crappy game. It's impossible to control, and again, this one got ripped off of the iOS and Android stores fairly quickly. and Nintendo's just not a big fan of people doing these things, especially when they're trying to move into the mobile market themselves now. So hopefully we can get a 3D platformer like this from Nintendo that has way more quality in the future, and we can get like a Mario 64 on our phone and have good quality on it. Next up is actually a pretty decent stab at a 2D Mario game, again in the Game Boy style here. It looks at the Game Boy background. It looks just like Super Mario Land 2, The Legend of 6 Gold Coins, which is my personal favorite Mario game of all time, especially on the Game Boy. Loved that game. So this is actually a pretty decent knockoff of that. It's not bad. It's not as terrible as other ones we've seen on this list. It actually does do a good job of handling and controlling and being able to navigate these levels. And the levels aren't exactly like the ones you'd see in the Mario games. So they did make their own level design. It's just very similar. So this is one I would actually recommend. I believe this one is still available for download on iOS and Android. If it is, I'd recommend giving it a try. It's actually, these games aren't limited to just platforming, however. Some of them actually venture on into the Mario Kart series. This is Mole Kart, available on iOS and Android, and it is a pretty decently knockoff of the Mario Kart on the Wii. This came out quite a few years ago. I'm not sure if it's still available, but I do remember when it first came out playing it. It's not as good as a Mario Kart, obviously. It's not very good at all. But this is just like, even the courses, it's just a clear knockoff of Moo Moo Farms. Like, they can't even come up with their own ideas for courses. It is just a complete ripoff, a cheap knockoff as that. It's hard to play. The controls are slippery. Weapons are shitty. Don't think it actually had online multiplayer, but if it did, that would have been kind of cool. I don't think it did. I don't remember it having that. But anyway, a shameless knockoff of Mario Kart is another thing that I never thought I would see, but here it is. It's called Mole Kart. Our next game is an extremely weird take on a 3D Mario game. It's called Era's Adventures 3D, and it was for Android back in like 2012. This came out. Obviously, it has since been taken down because this is a complete knockoff, not just the Mario, style of game, but that's clearly Yoshi with Mario's hat on backwards here. Just a crazy, crazy game. It was in 3D, as you guys can tell here. It was really weird. I remember people talking about this game when it came out, and it was quickly removed. I think within a month or two of it being released, it was removed by Nintendo. Just a complete odd game. Just had all kinds of quirky little things and things that were, they claimed wasn't Yoshi, it wasn't Mario based, but come on, no one's that stupid. It's clearly a knockoff of Mario. Call it what it is, a weird little knockoff. Our last iPhone and Android game is called Ultra Dario. Just a complete shameless on. Even the name is just like a slap in the face to Nintendo here. But this game is actually pretty good as well. I've played this a lot, actually. It's actually really good as far as iPhone platforming goes. Handles pretty well. Level design is pretty decent. And it's just a good little Mario clone. I mean, there's not much to it. It's basically, like I said, just Mario 1. 2D side-scrolling platformer. Not much else to say, but a pretty decent game. I don't think it costs much. I'm not sure if it's still available on the iPhone or Android stores. I haven't checked on that recently, but I have it on my phone. I play it from time to time. It's not that bad. Good little game to kill the time here and there. And hopefully we can eventually, like I said earlier, get an official Mario game like this on our phones. But until then, we'll have to play just games like this. And finally, probably the most famous rip-off of Mario is called the Great Gianna Sisters, and this actually came out back on the Commodore 64 in the late 80s. It was quickly shut down by Nintendo. However, it is actually a really good platforming game, and it is actually really collectible and expensive these days because it actually had to be taken off store shelves because Nintendo obviously sued them and won over this. But if you guys can get your hands on this, an actual physical copy, it's a really rare game. And you may be wondering, Gianna Sisters, I've heard that name before. That game sounds familiar. Well, you are correct. Recently, this game has been brought back. I believe there was a DS game version of it, but it actually is now available. There's a new version of it called Gianna Sisters Twisted, and it actually is a really, really good and interesting, different kind of platformer on Xbox One, PS4. I actually really enjoy the game. It's actually free as of right now, currently, on Games with Gold for this month. So if you guys are looking to try out Gianna Sisters Twisted, go on Games with Gold on Xbox Live and try it out on Xbox One. Won't be disappointed. Great game. But anyway, guys, that is all I have time for. I hope you guys all enjoyed. If you guys did, make sure to smash that like button down below. Also, let me know what other Mario clones you guys have seen or played or heard of. Would love to get a discussion like that going down in the comment section. Check out some previous gaming videos. And like remember said, guys, hit that like and subscribe button. Let's try and get this video to 500 likes. Really help me out. If you guys can help me on that, appreciate it as always. But until next time, guys, remember it's always K-Mac time somewhere. Until then, guys, take it easy and peace out.
Winner is Blatant.